1. Artima Salanoi, 106th Salanoi of the bluest blue blood Salanois, eldest daughter of 105 eldest children before her, and Lady High Professor of Demonology at the Eternal University of Magic in the Eterna Urbo, jewel of the 7 cities of Europe, sat in bed chewing thoughtfully on her toast. Something was amiss, and it robbed her of her appetite. The toast tasted of cardboard. This was strange, as it came fresh from the bakery who spent 24 hours lovingly allowing the dough to rise and ferment to produce the perfect combination of chewiness and softness. Chef then toasted it to perfection and slathered it with butter produced by grass-fed cows. Usually it was a perfect accompaniment to her morning cup of hot chocolate, but not today. She dropped the toast and looked around her room. Her 4-poster bed resembled a small island. The posts were the size of tree trunks. Exquisitely embroidered brocade curtains were artfully gathered up with a twisted gold cord ready to be unleashed and swing shut, blocking all light. Not that she did ever close the curtains, but it was a nice optional extra. She stepped out of bed and slipped her feet into the softest kid leather slippers money could buy. "Your dressing gown, milady," Julia said, as she lovingly wrapped her in a heavy silk gown artfully embroidered to resemble a watercolor of a verdant green forest. "Thank you," Artima murmured to her maid and drifted towards the French windows. A footman swung them open before she reached them, so that she didn't even have to slow down as she stepped out onto her balcony. It was an equivalent size to her bedroom, dotted about with clumps of potted plants and stretched away to an edge tastefully decorated with marble statues of toga-wearing ancient Romans. The sun shone down from a cloudless blue sky. It was almost always cloudless because of the height of the Superorbo. Artima knelt on the marble seat that ran the length of the balcony and looked over the edge down to the fluffy clouds below. Far, far below them was the azure-blue Mediterranean Sea. On a clear day you could see the water, although it was an act of imagination to think you could see the white tips of the waves. The city stretched for kilometers below her, 6 to be exact. It was divided into 3 regions, her beloved Superorbo where the sun shone bright and the air was clear. The Mesorbo, a delightful place for nipping off to listen to some jazz in one of their quaint clubs, and the Suburbo, a dismal place she'd never ventured into nor cared to visit. Those were the regions she could see. But in depictions of the city, they always added a globe floating above filled with angels to represent heaven, and a globe below filled with demons to represent hell. It had come as a shock to society when, in the late 21st century, angels and demons appeared on all the battlefields of Earth and proceeded to clobber the living daylights out of each other. They were massive beings with power unseen amongst humanity, and their battles shook the heavens, churned the earth, and damn near boiled the seas. The religious took it as a sign of the end of days. The scientists were stunned into silence. What did this mean? Were they suddenly supposed to accept the existence of a heaven and a hell, a supreme God and his archenemy Satan? Panic reigned, death cults sprang up like fields of dragons' teeth, magic head into life, suicides and murder rocketed. Then, as suddenly as they'd appeared, the combatants vanished. Nobody knew where they'd come from. Nobody knew where they'd gone. They left nothing, no bodies and no artifacts, just the wholesale destruction from the fighting itself. What was humanity supposed to do, beyond pick itself up, brush itself off, and try to make the best of it? The